agent is basically a small entity that is able to autonomously take an action, make a decision, but in the wild, very, very powerful, but they can be also quite dangerous. Every time you want to hire someone, you ask the question, can we have an agent do that? Yes or no? And it has to pass that test. If the answer is yes, then those new entrants and those work where the yes is high, yeah, it'd be painful to find a job now until the new opportunity arises. So for that, I'm a little bit concerned.
The premise is it's going to be 1, 2, or 3 individuals max with an array of different agents operating a company at about $100 million in recurring revenue. Do you see that in the future?
I am already seeing a world where you as a knowledge worker stay the decision maker, stay the strategist, and you bring the sprinkle of human quality, but below you have 5, 10, 50 agents that work for you. Everything is overhyped in a very short term and underhyped in the midterm. There's never been a better time to be a builder, I think.
If you can't do it with this much technology and access where you literally on your phone can build things out, then I think it's a part of innovation. Hey everyone, this is Said with Messy Growth. Today's guest is someone who's been building an AI and real-world execution long before it became a trendy thing. I've got Teo Borschberg with me. He's the co-founder and CEO of Ogment AI, where they're focused on putting AI agents to work safely inside organizations. Before that, though, he founded AI, an AI-powered voice analysis company that was eventually acquired by Unity Technologies. He's also built companies across Hong Kong, Shanghai, Lisbon, and San Francisco. He's actually there right now, spanning everything from media networks to healthcare to deep tech. So his experience is quite broad. So this is someone who's not just talking about AI on its day-to-day. He's been in it, building, scaling, and most importantly, exiting. So today we're going to try to unpack what AI agents actually mean in practice, what most companies are getting wrong right now, what it really takes to build in a space that's moving at an incredibly fast pace, if I would say. Teo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sayed.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I know that our mutual friend introduced us, and I'm looking at your profile, super excited about what you're doing. It's a space that I don't understand as much. I kind of feel like that I've been doing sales for about 13, 14 years or go to market, and all of my playbooks have pretty much been damaged since AI came out, and now we talk of agents and different tools, and people talk about things, and I'm like, should I know this? Is my experience important? I worked 13 years, but it kind of feels like folks that understand those things are way ahead than I am. So it's just an interesting dynamic and space in life that we have right now. So I'm glad to have you on.
Thank you.
And I will try to dig into these topics as much as I possibly can. But I want to start off with the first question, which really excited about after doing our pre-interview, discussing and looking at your profile. You've built across, which I said in my intro, across Hong Kong, Lisbon, San Francisco, Shanghai. How has geography shaped how you build companies?
I mean, big time in a sense, because first companies I started to build were in China, and in China things happen extremely differently than in the West. First of all, just the way you build relationship, the way you sell products, the way you get into organization, and so geography has definitely a huge impact in the way I approach. And then, of course, now back in the US, it's much more traditional, using a lot of content marketing, using a lot of traditional channel to get to people. And then, and boy, I missed face-to-face meetings as well. And so I'm really doubling down on human connections now, and as much as I can travel and meet people, 100%.
Do you think face-to-face is a lot better than, say, Zoom or what we're doing right now virtually? It's just, is it the energy? Is it the fact that we have now been got off a slump, so to speak, of just remote work? What exactly is it?
I think it's for sure 10x better, and then just the trust factor that you create as soon as you move. People understand you're serious. People understand you really want to make things happen, and then just also creating trust over Zoom has become quite difficult. I think it's a mix of fatigue, but of course, as you sit across the table, then there's a little conversation that happens at the elevator that becomes invaluable, because that's actually where the conversation actually goes. So face to face, I missed it not only, but also just, you stand out from the crowd big time.
100%. I used to work for a company that had a hybrid work environment, but a lot of folks that we would interview were just not in the city where we used to work from. So what you would do is, for the last interview, you would bring them out to the office and you would go to lunch with them. Just simply go and order a steak. And it was funny because our CEO, what he would do is he would take a random person from the office and, hey, come here, we're going to go over the interview with this guy. It's great because you're involving the people with you, from the company, you're showing them a skill, which is hiring, which is great. but at the same time, you're observing that particular person, right? Because the way they act, how they are, how they're drinking beer, what they are. So, and one of the fun things is that most of the people who made it to that route, I mean, you're at the last stage for crying out loud, they would not get hired because of what they have done in that particular lunch of 1 hour.
Interesting.
So that is how
Interesting.
important that particular in-person meeting was, is that, first impressions last. So you can make as many impressions as you like via Zoom or Google Meets and what have you. But it's that in-person meeting that really sets you apart. It's like, how do you react to people? How are you going to behave here that's really going to do it? Right or wrong?
For
I
sure.
really like that.
For sure. And just yesterday, I was at a meeting in person in San Francisco, and then at the elevator, actually, we started to talk about other things than the deal. And it happened that this person was coming to Lisbon. And of course, as I know Lisbon quite well, I extended the offer to look at the trip, make recommendation. And that became like a very solid communication line that since yesterday, we kept on chatting about Lisbon and recommendations and that creates the relationship for sure.
Yeah,
and so
100%.
this happens at the elevator and not on Zoom.
100%. Best pastel de nata. There's nothing that you can actually beat that. Getting back to the topic of hand, which is everyone's talking about AI, it is literally something that my LinkedIn feed is filled with.
Yeah.
It's impressive with what you can do with AI. You're specifically focused though on AI agents. What is the difference and why does it matter?
I mean, AI is extremely vast as a category, but if I stay a bit focused on us, of course, there's AI raw intelligence, which is LLM, but then after you need to be able to deploy them, and an agent is basically a small entity that is able to autonomously take an action, make a decision. But in the wild, very, very powerful, but they can be also quite dangerous. And so the agents today needs a little bit of infrastructure, a little bit of guardrail for them to work safely. And so we're building some technology around that in order to be able to deploy this raw intelligence inside places where there's, risky actions to be taken, sensitive data to be scoped. And so all this has to be mapped out around what we call an agent today. But indeed, the AI space is huge, and that's just a tiny portion of it.
Yeah. It's interesting. You said something about it's wild. In the wild, it's pretty dangerous. What do you mean by that?
It's pretty dangerous in a sense that as it has autonomy, as it can take action, and now more and more people are actually giving credentials, so the systems can access, the agents for own systems, and through the API, through the web browser, can actually delete a database, can actually do a purchase you didn't intend to do, send an you really didn't want to send. So we see more and more of these stories that are coming out from the pioneers that are giving a lot of autonomy to these agents.
Yeah, some would argue that that's what happens when you have a great technology. And AI, by any stretch of the imagination, is a great technology. It has great applications. You can certainly teach it to do a lot of different things and train it to do a lot of different things. Isn't that just a cost to pay to do something incredible with a piece of technology? It's just going to break things. In that point, because this technology is such a breakthrough, how do you put guardrails around it? Like, how do you make sure that it doesn't become that dangerous in the wild? Is there a human gap stop that needs to be put in place? Is there another piece of software that needs to? How do we go about doing that to make sure we erase those particular bad bacteria out of that particular system?
The cost of a great technology, 100%. I think you can even compare it to, flying a plane. The first one, it was to fly, for 30 seconds, and then many, unfortunately, accidents happen. And eventually, 60 years later, with trial and error and safety and measures that you put in place, we're 300 people crossing the Atlantic with this technology. So I think it's, of course, less dangerous than that. The impact is not death, but indeed, the pioneers, they move fast, they break things, and we learn from, just concrete experience where the limit is and how to put guardrails around it. And I think that's a good segue to your question. There are many ways to look at it, but the base ones are, of course, human in the loop. So making sure every sensitive action is classified as a sensitive action by default in a deterministic way, and you have a human in the loop that can just approve it. Now, where we are today is that there's already approval fatigue. And so you are just sitting in front of your computer and just approve, and you stop even looking at what you're approving. So it kind of defeats the purpose. And so now we have, on top of deterministic rules of what the agent can and cannot do, there is what we call more stochastic rules. So we give basically a prompt to another agent that can go check what is the intent of the action, is it in line with the guidelines that the user has put, and then it's not a perfect, but it's an extra layer of understanding whether this action is in line with what we're supposed to do or not. And so that's where we are today, is this mix of deterministic and adding a more contextual dynamic layer on top of it to give this second layer of check.
Yeah, I guess like the one thing I would argue here with the example, if you go with the example of the plane, is that for the first time the plane was invented and it got flown to the point we have today where it's super safe to go ahead and fly, the capacities and so on and so forth. There was a huge time. It took a generation or two for us to get there. Whereas with AI, it's changed drastic. It really is. I mean, I recall not so long ago that somebody told me, "Hey, you got to try out ChatGPT." Like, what? What is that?
Yeah.
Try it and you'll find it. It can do your questions or like your maths question. Oh, okay, well, that's interesting. And then the technology rapidly turned into something dramatic. Here, hell, we have businesses that are currently hundreds of millions of dollars in ARR that are built off the back of just those LLMs and AI for the most part. So I guess my question is, what happens when you're looking at these feeds on LinkedIn, on social, where everybody's trying to feed you the fact that, hey, you got to be more proficient with AI. If I'm a founder today, or generally anybody who's working in tech, what's something that I should stop doing manually immediately because agents can handle it better? How do I offload that work off of my plate just to make sure that I don't feel behind and I'm kind of in the loop where I'm being productive and optimized?
Yeah, I mean, the long answer short is anything knowledge work related. Nothing I think will escape that. It's progressing so fast, and I'm just amazed every month how good the systems become. It became really good at coding, but now it's becoming really good at picking tools. It's eventually going to become, very, very good at legal marketing. And so all the knowledge work is 100% impacted by this year. So anything to do with that. Now the risk of not, it's interesting, the risk of not doing AI today is high. And even companies, they are taking more risk from a data perspective, from a security perspective, because the risk of not adopting AI as a company and falling behind is very high, and people are aware of it. And just yesterday I was at this meeting with another customer, and they were saying they're already ranking employees within the organization from 0 to 4. 0 is zero proficiency on AI. 4 is like you're full on coder, and then you are able to build stuff very quickly and push things to production. And so their goal is to really map who is where in this organization and upskill more and more these people towards a 3 at least, where you can start to vibe code something within a sandbox and environment. And their objective is very, very clear. And I think people that don't embrace that will fall behind fast.
Since you work in this field and you're kind of like in the midst of everything related to AI agents and AI, where does one go to level up and learn about this? If using the example of LinkedIn, I've seen posts where people say, hey, ins and outs of it, how to operate, how to optimize. And I believe that maybe there are some folks that are at the very cusp of this technology, doing a lot of work, and they know it. But for a layman like myself, how do I go ahead and unwork it? Do I just buy a subscription, play around with it, try to get better, watch YouTube videos, go to Reddit? What is the perfect way to learn, kind of like a blueprint, so to speak, to become proficient in AI?
I would say, just before I jump into that, is I would say 6 to 12 months ago, you kind of had to be a bit of a developer to, connect the Sure, you knew how to get an API key and put it somewhere. And so even me, I work in tech for 10 years, but I'm not a developer. Even for me, it was a little bit of a hurdle to I would say it's been 2-3 months now with OpenClaw, and we're not completely there yet, but I see more and more non-technical users being able to adopt it in a very easy way. So first caveat is that it's only been 2-3 months, in my opinion, that non-technical users can truly start to build interesting stuff with AI. Before was like the learning curve was very steep. And so that being so new and things becoming so simple, I'm betting also that by the end of this year, it's going to be as simple as just chatting with the system, and the system will just build stuff around your needs. So I would say it's the barrier to entry is going to become even simpler. But today I would do two things: just watch YouTube videos. I spend a lot of my time watching YouTube videos, and then there's just you ask Claude or you ask ChatGPT. I would recommend Claude today because they have such a good setup of connectors and being able, they have plugins and marketplace and skills. They've been really good at helping non-technical users really build some stuff. But you just install Claude, watch a couple of videos, and then you just speak to it and you say, hey, I'm stuck here. How should I move forward? And the thing will just guide you forward. Like, you don't even need to go look for tutorial materials anywhere else anymore. It's wild.
Yeah, 100%. Use AI to learn about AI. I guess that should have been the simplest way to put it. Like for me, is to
it was a long answer, but basically
no. But
sum
for
it
me, it
up
was
to
like
do that.
do that. No, I fully understand it. So here's one thing though, and I'm sure you've heard about it. You're in the midst right now of a location that is filled with entrepreneurs, predominantly around tech, SaaS, so on and so forth. It's the Valley, it's the hub. I've heard time and time again this claim, which is that the future looks something like this. And please throw me some rope here. I'm not very proficient in it, but essentially the premise is it's going to be 1, 2, or 3 individuals max with an array of different agents operating a company at about $100 million in recurring revenue. Do you see that in the future, or is that too dystopian?
I see it, but it's not going to be the rule. It's not going to all be like that. I think obviously we have businesses that are much more operational in the real world, like, I don't know, medicine, being needing to do a blood test and getting a nurse walking, like, so I think there's going to be a bigger blend. But if you speak of knowledge workers, definitely I am already seeing a world where you as a knowledge worker stay the decision maker, stay the strategist, and you bring the sprinkle of human quality, but below you have 5, 10, 50 agents that work for you in diverse capacity. That's for sure. And the other thing I can say is speaking with leaders here every day, is no one wants to really cut costs today. So they're not like, okay, we need to cut our organization in half. However, we want to triple, quadruple, or 10x our revenue in the next couple of years with the same team. For that to happen, obviously everyone will need to duplicate their capacity, and that's going to happen through agents. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. It's so interesting. You said in the very beginning is that people crave human connections, and then you go down to the right. Like, what made company great, at least 6, 7, 8 years ago, was the people. Sure, the product always helps, but the glue that sticks everything together is the people, the culture.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not hard to imagine, but seeing that part grow into what you're talking about, it's not the rule, it's the exception, sure, but in tech or knowledge work, it's very much a possibility that the company's sizes will continue to shrink as more agents are deployed, as more AI is adopted, so on and so forth, and people are going to go ahead and get affected. I guess my question is, what happens to jobs as AI agents just continue to get better and better and better, which is inevitable because they will. It's a Pandora's box that has been opened, and there's no going back.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the premise of what you say, in a sense that, if I think about it, I mean, history time over again has shown that the more we put efficiency in technology, the more the market and employment expands. And I know it could be different right now, but when I think about the way our society operates, I for sure think we're not at optimal. For example, you go to the hospital, you wait 4 hours, sometimes even 8, or you don't even find a doctor. Customer support, you are still on the line for 45 minutes with the airline, and then you have, a shitty answer. And so I worked quite a lot in call centers, and I can tell you one interesting thing of how it switches. The one metric of call center is first call resolution. It means you call once, and then you're happy if the customer doesn't call back, because it means you solved the issue.
You resolved the problem.
Supposedly, and you resolved it. Now that AI is coming, the metric is actually shifting and is doing a 180 degree, meaning how long can we keep the conversation going over a few months with a customer so we stay top of mind with them and we can actually build a relationship with them. And so we're gonna see a world where the basic questions are answered, but humans are put forward in order to start to build relationship, to build extra care and extra services, where everything starts to become really a delight. And we're so far from this optimal point that I'm very sure that for some time companies will reinvest the resources they have into not only selling more services, but selling better services. And that's going to keep us busy for some time.
100%. I think like the perfect analogy of what you're describing is the stock market. Like every now and then a cycle comes, which is just a bear market, and it shakes all the retailers out that don't have, for a lack of a better way to put it, diamond hands to do it
Yeah.
all. And I think that's exactly it. Is that it's just a kick in the butt for everybody to get restarted. Somebody here on this podcast said, I don't recall the person's name. They said that AI is not going to make people lose their jobs. Shitty, like folks with not enough skills to level up and not proficient in AI are going to lose their jobs
Yeah.
themselves, right? For the
Yeah.
most part. I'm paraphrasing here. And so the idea is to just, the technology, how do I maximize it, right? Like it's like Elon going to the guy and it was like, you know, we're replacing yellow books. And the guy was like, how could you possibly replace that? That's the future, right? For the
Yeah.
most, so that's what he was trying to do with Zip2, I think.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
And don't get me
where we
wrong, just
stand.
to be clear, I do think it's going to be a bit of a painful transition. And what I do already see now in the company is just not hiring anymore on functions. I mean, every time you want to hire someone, you ask the question, can we have an agent do that? Yes or no? And it has to pass that test. If the answer is yes, then those new entrants and those work where the yes is high, yeah, be painful to find a job now until the new opportunity arises. So for that,
100%.
I'm a little bit concerned for sure.
Yeah, I am. But I also think it's a great opportunity now. You know how folks used to wait 20, 30 years and they're like, okay, now I am a salesperson. I'm a garbage. You can change jobs fairly easy. Now it's the perfect time to be a generalist. If you're proficient in marketing, sales, customer success, I don't know, like all these different functions, you're a valuable commodity because you happen to know all these different things. And I think this is a perfect time to just, I would not say be generalist per se, have strong suits, sure, but you should know a little bit of everything so you can tackle anything you like, kind of like a spider, so to speak. I don't know what you think on that front, but that's something is my kind of like thinking is that it's a perfect time as any to just focus on that.
Yeah. I think two things. Generalist is interesting. Me, I'm starting to value a lot people that have critical thinking as well, because the AI
100%.
outputs something kind of interesting. It sounds great, but actually it sucks in reality. And so people that can pierce through that noise and steer, strategically, okay, that makes sense. Now let's move in that direction. I think this is going to be a very valuable skill also, just like a soft skill that we'll look more and more for.
100%. I think the critical thinking was always critical, but now more so than ever before, because everything that comes out of AI or an LLM, you have to parse through it and spot the bullshit because it is trained on something. You talked about Claude. Claude has a different way of answering than GPT. It's because while they're trained on similar data, the programming behind it is different. So you need now more than ever is that, sure, this is a good thing to look at, but you got to use your critical thinking to make sure how do you apply that in real life in your particular scenario, because LLM does not know your particular situation and how you need to operate. There's just so many different variables.
For and just fallacy in thinking as well. It makes everything sound so good. And I also am victim of that. I become a bit lazy and I quickly, read through the answer and I'm like, yeah, it sounds pretty good that we can ship that. And then actually, like, if you really think about it, oh, wait, this is completely wrong. That happens more and more.
This is the equivalent of a lot of folks that, I watch the YouTube videos with Diary of the CEO, for instance. I really like the show, and these experts, the way they speak, the commanding voice that they have and their experience, you're like, crap. I mean, they're right. Not because you have fact checked them. It's because of the fact the way they're speaking and their accolades speak for themselves, right? And this is kind of like, yeah, sure, AI is a great tool that it can be right. It's mostly or sometimes right. But please, your situation is quite individual. What worked for company A, B, and C at 20, 30, $40 million in recurring revenue possibly might not work for you. So please approach it with caution.
For sure.
I guess this is why underneath Claude it says Claude can makes mistakes sometimes. I think it's a great disclaimer for the most part. I want to talk about your experience. You founded multiple different companies across vast degree of industries. Is there a pattern do you follow, or when you're starting something new, is there something that you're always thinking of, or is this kind of like the same playbook, or is it just same different playbook every single time?
I'm a very curious person and a bit reckless, and so I would say the pattern is starting to emerge now. But for the past 18 years of entrepreneurship, I've just been kind of jumping in the cold water in front of whatever excited me in that moment. I'm not advising that very energy consuming.
I bet.
I love to just follow the curiosity and jump and try and see. And so far it's been more of a scattered exploration, but now with a bit of age, I want to be a bit more intentional where I put my energy. And so I'm looking at, a bit more carefully about what I do than before.
Yeah, curious. Elon once said, I'm not an advocate of him. It's just that I like the quote that he used, which is entrepreneurship is like staring into the abyss and chewing glass. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And you do it despite that. I think that's where the fun is, right? That's where the recklessness, thrill seeking comes in, I guess, for the most part.
Yeah. Really moments of profound, like, I don't want to say darkness because it's not that bad, but like you feel stuck in a hole, and yeah, they can be intense.
Yeah, 100%. You said you experienced, so 18 years of it comes with a lot of lessons, I'm sure. Some you've probably shared, some probably you never share, some you're probably thinking of sharing. Has there been a mistake, one particular one that you made, and I can think of mine, that you made as a founder that fundamentally changed how you operate today?
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind, I don't know if it's a more profound one, but the first one that came to mind is the fine line between being optimistic and objective. And I used to be an founders as well, but I specifically used to be very, I don't want to say, but if I wanted something to happen, I wanted to so much to happen that I would not really see the facts,
Forest for the trees.
Exactly. And so speaking with customers today, I try to go in a mindset hoping they will just kill my idea, because then I will get to the truth faster. And before, I would massage the questions, and I would try to sell the vision to make sure that they would agree with where I want to go. So I think just being very objective and understanding that getting slapped in the face by customers' answers is really good for you has been one of the things I had to learn over time. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
The analogy that comes to mind.
This is a great example. The analogy that kind of like ties to like my experience in sales, for instance, is that a lot of people say, hey, you got to qualify every single lead. I usually tell my reps, try to unqualify every single lead, because when you go with the mentality of like, hey, is this not a good fit for that person? You're there to help them. Like, hey, this is not a good fit for you, right? And you come off with a different energy as opposed to you got to buy my crap. Like, this is the best party there is.
Yeah. And you build trust like that for sure.
100%. Yeah. Talking about AI, I'm assuming, given the fact that every time there is something that is out there and it's being spoken and shouted from the rooftops by everyone, there's something that is overhyped about it. Is there something that is overhyped right now in AI? And subsequently, question tied to it, what is underhyped?
Well, that's a big question because there's so much. Generally speaking, I would say everything is overhyped in a very short term and underhyped in the midterm. That's kind of a general rule I start to see. Meaning, if you do, install agents and put everything in place, it will probably disappoint you compared to where we think they actually are. But I'm convinced that in 12 to 24 months, they will be further than what you think they will be. Yeah. So I think generally there's this thing of over-promising what's today and underestimating what's coming up. Otherwise, honestly, I have little opinion there because things are moving so fast. I mean, we work a lot with a protocol called MCP, Model Context Protocol. It was the thing end of last year, and then since OpenClaw came out, it was the shittiest thing on the planet, and then now it starts to come back a little bit again. And so I'm trying to abstract myself from all those things and stay a little bit more steady, because week on week, it's this hype cycle is really exhausting.
100%. Yeah, I think like the trick is to sift through it, but that again is a talent in and of itself. Like trying to time the market, you can't do it. I think it's tied to what exactly you said about midterm is like time in the market will beat timing the market every single time. So you just have to wait and see how the hype machine, when it dies down, how do these things play out?
Yeah. And that being said, if I can just say one more thing, I think, it's interesting. I think the pace is unlike everything we've seen, obviously, and so we need to manage it a bit differently. At our company, if everyone was kept on looking at Twitter and what's coming out and so on, I think we would all be running around like headless chicken, right, left. However, we still have one person who is a bit of our, scout, and spends a fair amount of time. We know he does, so we also not expect for the rest of the productivity, scouting and really sifting through the noise, because sometimes he brings something that does save us like a month, like a new thing or something, and like, wow, that was a leap forward. And so it's a delicate dance to scout, but not have everyone scout, and then have just someone that can filter through the noise, but still bring the crazy innovation that's coming out. So it's a fine dance that I'm still trying to understand how to best deal with the pace, but for sure it's a different dynamic than before.
100%. He's your red team, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it. Perfect. You have this unique experience with opening up companies, and of course, at the same time, you've done it at multiple different locations. I'm curious, does cultural differences affect how companies adopt AI?
Yes, my experience there is just Europe, US mostly.
Sure. I mean, that's vast majority of tech in a lot of ways what people are experiencing.
Yeah, I mean, Asia is of course like booming as well, and I have little exposure
100%.
there, so that's the caveat. But yeah, for sure, like Americans, they are pioneers in everything. They are risk takers. Europeans, they are more on the regulation side, and they're afraid and they want to see what happens. And that you feel on a day to day, and it's painful because I'm European. I love Europe, and there are many parts of me that want to bring Europe up to the level of the US, or at least try. And it's frustratingly difficult because people are afraid or just deeply more conservative.
Yeah.
And so for AI, I think this is the trait.
I mean, I get it though. Like,
for.
I get it. I mean, the thing about being cautious is that every time you're cautious, and again, come back to the analogy of the stock market, you're never going to see those bull runs happen. If you're cautious, you're going to miss those. But if you're risky, you're going to lose some, but at the same time, you're also going to win some. So I think that's where the entrepreneurship in the States comes in, which is, let's take risks. Let's see what happens. Let's see how far we can throw it and how much we can break it. And I think it has pros and cons, just like everything, right? So
it has pros and cons, but I think it has more pros than cons. And I have little empathy for the cautiousness in Europe right now, especially with 100%. AI and technology. So this one, I feel very strongly about that. We should wake the fuck up.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but I also think it's because of the fact that the people that are in charge themselves don't understand the technology. So every single time you have a sector or an industry where people in charge of making decisions are not proficient in that language or that technology, there's going to be delay. They just don't understand it. And this is why there is a need to kind of like overhaul that system a little bit. Is like bring fresh blood in that understands the need for us to be competitive on the world stage. But I'm a European myself, so I'm like, it's a frustration that I equally share, because they could just more. I mean, look at the companies that have come out of Europe recently that are 11 Labs, Polish company. We got Lovable.
Amazing. Amazing.
There's just so much talent here, and it's just like
there is.
You can have a whole podcast about European stuff. I think like the best meme is, I don't know if you saw it. The day I think it was Elon again coming into this topic, is that the SpaceX got a rocket that launches and comes back, a reusable rocket.
Yeah,
we invented the cap, the bottle and the lid. That's what Europe does compared to America. It's always funny.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I want to talk about something. I want to talk about something. Is something I wanted to ask you. One of the privileges of having multiple different companies, multiple different ventures, is that you get to learn when to stop, when to stay the course. How do you know when?
My God. Difficult question. Difficult question. Why do I say difficult question? Because I'm taking notes on a weekly basis because I have a terrible memory, and I on my previous company Autonomy, I did reference before. I went to reread my 300 pages of PDF about my journey there, and I counted that I deeply wanted to quit 11 times. There's 11 times where I was like, I am so done. Like and then the outcome is the one you mentioned, right? We eventually exited the company to Unity, and it was a good outcome. But wow, experience is for sure key. I haven't found that trade-off yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say, yeah, it's
Yeah.
for me right now is just keep going, and
Yeah.
quitting is if you really, you know, if you really have to because something
Yeah.
happened, but otherwise, stand to live another day.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess this is what makes people entrepreneurs like make it. The ones that make it versus don't is they quit. Because quitting it's always there for you. I mean, it's interesting when I started this channel. One of my friends, jokingly said, "Hey, another podcast. What are you gonna do different that other people are not?" And I was like, "Well, I want to talk to people. I want to talk to people. I want to
Yeah,
learn from people because your
yeah,
benchmark is there, and you have a goal." And you continue to when one turn into 10 and 10 turn into 20 and then 20 turn into 50, 50 turn into 100. And I guess that's it. It's something I tell my kids. It's a book that we read and I really like, The Fox, the Boy, the Horse and the Mole. And the
okay,
boy can't see the way out of the forest because it's surrounded by trees. And he said, asked the fox, "Hey, what do I do?" He says, "Do you see where the next step needs to go? Where do you need to take the next step?" He says, "Yeah." So you take that and you take the one after that and you take the one after that. And then
I love it.
after you take 1,000 steps, you're going to start to see the path becomes a lot more clear. So I think that's where it really, like, you start to focus. Why did you start? That's your why. And then you continue to do it, the simple thing that is in front of you. So I think there's some truth in that for the most part.
100%. I'm 100% behind that. And then just I think you're right. Quitting is really the difference, but then it doesn't mean you cannot iterate, right? So of course you
Always.
don't need to be stubborn and just hit the same wall.
Yeah.
But as long as you listen, you iterate, but you keep going.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know. I pivoted at least 5, 6 major times in my businesses. So for sure,
100%.
for sure.
That's why I love this technology, and I'm sure you do too. It's because it gives you so many chances. It's so forgiving, right? It's not like you open up a oil refinery in the 1800s. Like, it is very, very, very forgiving. You make a mistake, you
Yeah,
could literally start again tomorrow, or even
yeah.
the very day, and then continue to do it and continue. So, my friend told me recently, and we were talking about the market with the war and everything, and he said, like, every crisis has an opportunity. You just have to find yours. So if you
Hmm.
flip it, every opportunity, literally with the technology, you just have to find what exactly is it that you can do it with your skill set and just keep grinding, keep grinding. I guess that's that.
100%. 100%. And there's never been a better time to be a builder, I think, for sure.
I mean,
Um,
if you can't do it with this much technology and access where you literally on your phone can build things out, then I think it's a part of motivation. I guess you'll never do it. And that's okay. Not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. For a functioning society,
yeah,
we need all these different people in different roles. But you just shouldn't have any regrets then because the access to technology is insane right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I want to ask you one last thing, and then I'll get you into our rapid fire round where it's quick questions, quick answers. If you were starting your career today, what would you focus on?
In terms of skills or in terms of industry or in
In
terms
terms
of,
of skills, sure, if you want to add in industry, that is also helpful because given your like width of experience, I'd love to know like where the focus should.
I think just if I start with industry, I would definitely look at something that is at the crossroad of technology and operation in terms of real life. And I think this is where individual business will be very interesting to be built on, because if we think that software is going to become free in a sense, there's like an extreme thought that all those apps, all those systems will basically become mostly a commodity. And so I think if you're able to wed or like put together really well operation and transform industries like this, I think that for me the next 5, 10 years will be very exciting in that world.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would start to think. And then skills, yeah, I'm not sure I would become a coder anymore, even though I think I'm
Mm.
sure it will be useful for a long time. But just proficiency in AI tools, 100%. I think just that and merging that with the operation of the real world would be already I think you have a lot to do for the next 5 to 10 years there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was thinking more electrician or a plumber. Those are not going to go anyway anytime soon. I
Yeah,
know we joke around with our friends, and I think it's funny because it's tied to what you said in the very beginning: people stuff, connections,
yeah,
things
yeah,
that require like actual things that AI can't fix. They can't fix your plumbing. They can't fix your electricity for the most part.
yeah,
Enhance,
absolutely.
sure, But that part I think is pretty critical. And I think more folks should think about just exiting out of that. And I think a lot of like some VPs of sales that I know or VPs of success, they're like pushing away more into, is it white collar, blue collar? I keep forgetting the one that is more manual and just more exciting. So,
Yeah,
exciting times.
And then we'll see, I think we went from, farming to industrial revolution to
Right.
eventually this. And I think now we're going to go into experience economy.
Yeah.
And then people are going to spend
100%.
a lot more, of course, travels, hospitality, and then just, learning new manual skills. And so those will become high value very, very soon again. Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting, right? Our technology made us be more reliant on technology. And at the same time, now you have to go back to being manual stuff. It's funny how war works, but it's amazing. This technology really
the pendulum.
The pendulum keeps swinging.
100%. Keeps swinging.
100%. Yeah. Exciting stuff. Yep. Rapid fire round. Very quick questions, very quick answers. Best advice you've ever received, business or personal?
When you're in trouble, get a glass of wine, go to sleep, and wake up tomorrow with a fresh perspective.
We have something similar to that in Poland, which is when you're in trouble, take a shot of vodka. Things usually tend to look a little more clear after that.
We already don't know, but it's different.
On a try. On the flip side, advice you ignored or wish you had listened to?
Damn, I know I'm not supposed to give you a fast answer, but it's early morning here.
No, please go ahead.
I don't know. I listen to advice a lot.
You don't remember. There you go. That's perfect.
Probably.
Listen
Sorry
to the
about
advice
that.
that is coming to you right. No, you're good. What would you tell your younger self, say 7 to 10 years ago?
Trust the process.
Damn, we should print this out in t-shirts if somebody hasn't done it already, or tattoo it. Trust it, dude. It takes time. 100%.
Yeah.
An ongoing challenge in your current work that keeps you up at night?
Fast pace of change. Overwhelmingly fast pace of change.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you and countless other people, right? I mean, how do I stay on top of this? Just a lot, for the most part. One last question: your favorite restaurant, meal, or spot?
It's Chef René in Switzerland, in Zermatt. It's to die for.
Oh, really?
Incredible.
What kind of food do they have?
It's kind of Swiss mountain food, so relatively, cheese, potatoes, but really well done. And then you have this view of the Matterhorn, which is this pointy mountain, Swiss chocolate, which is to die for.
It's fantastic. I'm gonna put that into actually, if this thing doesn't work out, I'm thinking of just making those recommendations, pile it up, and go try those for now and start a YouTube channel with that alone.
I love it.
Theo, where can listeners find you?
Mostly in LinkedIn, YouTube. So LinkedIn is Teo Borschberg. YouTube, we just have a YouTube channel for Augment where we post a lot about case studies and we say, AI in the trenches. So we talk about, real experiences, what worked, what doesn't work. So those would be two great places to follow some of our.
Fantastic. Any upcoming project, talk, launch, or event that you're excited about?
I think for us, just heads down in pilots and implementation. So for now, I'm like a horse with the side things on the eyes, and I'm just 100% manifesting and pushing and focused on making augmented reality.
Perfect. Well, I hope your trip to the US is fruitful. I hope you have a safe fly back home. I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with me. This has been great.
Thank you. Absolutely. I love chatting with you. Thank you for the interview.
Awesome. Folks, if you got value out of this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you next week. Bye.